Hey everyone, my name is John Swartz, and I am the program manager for the Career Accelerator program with FIU Global First Year. And we are about to go through a resume workshop. So this is for anyone who is, looking to get their first job. They want to prepare. They want to write a resume that's really going to give them the best shot at getting the job. Maybe you've already been out there applying for a lot of jobs and you haven't gotten a lot of response from your application. I see this all the time with students. This presentation is for you. This is going to help you think about your resume in a little bit of a different way and write a resume that's really going to get the attention of the reader, which is really what you want to be doing. We're going to talk a lot about that. I work primarily with international students at FIU, so I know that there are a bunch of differences between different countries and cultures on how to write a resume. So we're going to focus on how to write a resume for jobs that you're applying for in the US. If you don't mind, if you haven't already, go ahead and scan this QR code with your phone to sign in so that I know that you have watched the presentation and participated. You can pause and sign if you need to. I'm going to go ahead and move forward. We're going to get started with a very simple question, guys. And that question is, if I can get this going, there we go. What is a resume? So think about that. What is your answer to the question, what is a resume? Because your answer will actually affect and impact the way in which you're going to write your resume in the future for the jobs that you're applying for. So give it a little thought, maybe pause the video, think about it, what it is. I'm going to share with you a definition from our FIU Career and Talent Development Office. Really great resource for you guys on campus. And I'm going to share a little bit about that at the very end of the presentation. But here's our definition. It's a brief written account of personal, educational, and professional qualifications and experience. So plain and simple. The only thing I might add to this is that it needs to be relevant. All of this needs to be relevant to the job that you are applying for. A big issue that kind of sometimes comes up and students don't consider. We're going to talk all about that here today, but this is essentially what a resume is. Maybe, yeah, okay, makes sense. I kind of thought that. Great. But now what is the purpose of a resume? Why do you need to write one in the first place? So really pause, maybe think about that for a second. What is the purpose of a resume? Why do I need to write a resume? What does a resume actually do for me? And there's a lot of different answers out there. I'm going to give you my answer. The answer of the Career Accelerator program, we think that the purpose of a resume simply and plainly is to secure the interview. Secure the interview for the job. It's the interview that's going to help you get the job. That's the purpose of the interview. That's a whole different topic of conversation, but the purpose of your resume is just to get the interview. Now, here is something to really think about, really important. Now, to secure an interview, in other words, to fulfill the purpose of your resume, to secure an interview, your resume must get the attention of the reader. I mentioned this a moment ago, and it's just like writing a paper, right? You want to get the attention of the reader, you want to keep them reading the document that you've created. And guys, this is the number one thing that students will neglect. They won't write their resume with the intention to get with the intention to get the attention of the reader. So I can't tell you how many times students have come into my office for the first time, by the way, and have said, hey, I've been applying for 15, 20 jobs on campus. I haven't gotten a single response. And it's usually something related to something similar. Once I take a look at their resume, I take a look at the job description that they're applying for. There's nothing written on the resume that's going to get the attention of the reader. And instead, usually, without really thinking about it, people will write their resume with the intention of just looking good, of just looking impressive, and writing actually really good and really impressive accomplishments on there. But again, there's no relevance to the accomplishments that they're communicating on their resume to the job that they're actually applying for. So the way that we do this, guys, the way that we're going to get the attention of the readers, we do this by aligning the content of your resume with the content of the job description. So think about this for a moment. The employer has communicated to you through the job description. This is what we're looking for. These are the qualifications. This is what the role's gonna, person in the role will be responsible for. They've communicated this to you through the job description, and then you will communicate back through the resume by listing your qualifications and experiences, but you want to make sure that your resume speaks the same language of the job description. So we're just bringing this up now in the beginning. I'm going to get into this in detail. We're going to show you exactly how to align the content of your resume with the content of the job description. But I want to slow down just for a moment, because what we've shared so far is super, super important. Just want to review everything that we've talked about so far. A resume, this is straight from FIU Career and Talent Development, is a brief written account of personal education and professional qualifications and experience. That's what the resume is. The purpose of the resume, according to Career Accelerator, is to secure an interview. Plain and simple, guys. And in order to secure that interview, your resume must get the attention of the reader. In other words, of the employer, of the person who's going to make the decision of whether or not to hire you. There's a lot of people you're going to be competing against. Yes, there are hundreds of jobs available for FIU students at any given moment, but there's also thousands of students that are going to be applying for those jobs. You want to be one of the ones that's going to really get the attention of the reader, and it's going to be invited for an interview to have a conversation about your qualifications in more depth so that you can really wow them and really shine. And of course, we mentioned you get the attention by aligning your resume, that is your personal educational and professional qualifications and experience, with the job description. So we're going to get into exactly how to do that. Before we do, I want to, before we start writing, I want to make sure that you know what you need to do to make the resume easy for the person who's going to read it to read. You want to make it easy for them, because guess what? This is kind of crazy, the average amount of time that a professional recruiter will spend looking at your resume is 20 seconds. You want to make those 20 seconds really easy for them, really impactful for them. So in order to do that, you want to have the whole resume consistent format. I've looked at resumes, first draft of resumes where there's different jobs and they're written with a different format on the same resume. So you want to make it all consistent, because if you have different formats for everything, it kind of makes it difficult to figure out what you're trying to communicate to me. You want to keep the font familiar. Use the default fonts that Word uses. This is what people are used to reading all the time. You don't want to come up with some fancy font that might be hard for some people to read, but are even less familiar, and the reader has to spend a little bit of their energy adjusting to something that they're not used to reading. So just make it easy. Font size, don't go below 10. Low font is hard for some people to read. You want to keep, I know that sometimes there's a lot of information you want to get on your resume and you don't have enough space, but guys, keep it to minimum of 10 font, no more than max as well. You want to keep it that's easy and familiar for people to read. Your margins of your resume, the edges of your resume, you don't want it to go below 5 inches, and obviously not more than 1 inch away from the edges of the page, because now we're not putting enough content in there. But you definitely don't want to go less than 0.5 inches, because if they print your resume to read it, some people like to print and read, it's not going to print off. Your content is going to be cut off, and that might even frustrate them. They might not even read your resume. So keep it no less than 0.5 inches. And then again, making it easy for them, no more than 1 page. And guys, I know that a lot of you have or will have a lot of experience that you want to communicate and demonstrate, and accomplishments that you want to demonstrate on your resume, and you should, and that's great. And remember, you want to keep it relevant. So you want to make sure that everything you're communicating, your experiences, all your qualifications, your accomplishments are relevant to the position that you're doing. If you really focus on that, you will be able to get it within 1 page. Don't worry if you can't even make a full page yet. That's okay too. The thing to do then is to go get experience. So go start joining student organizations on campus. Go participate in the Career Accelerator program. You can, as an FIU Global First Year student, you can apply for GLOW with your student services advisor to lead your kind of cohort of students and make an impact on the policies of FIU Global First Year and create more engaging events and give us ideas for how we can be doing our jobs better. And then again, I just wanted to put this out there. I said it earlier. The average amount of time recruiters are going to spend reading your resume is 20 seconds. So you want to make it super easy for them and just really engaging and really get their attention. But again, also before you get started, you want to avoid these mistakes. Don't make these mistakes before and then, have to go and do multiple drafts and get frustrated. It's easier if you just know this information and just don't put it on your resume before. So one great example, don't write references available upon request. So a reference is someone who is going to share a little bit about their experience of working for you and validate some of the accomplishments that you were saying that you've achieved. So maybe a past manager or a past coworker could be a really great reference for you. Maybe a professor, maybe an advisor that you have also would be a really great reference for you. But don't put this on your resume. When they need your reference, they will ask you. What you want to do here is avoid the possibility that they will think that you're being presumptuous, that you're assuming that you're going to get the position. So just avoid that altogether. When they need it, and they will eventually, they will ask you for your references. Don't include all of these things on a resume. Your photograph, social security number if you have one, disabilities, previous termination, so previous positions from which you were fired from the role, if that happened. Don't include your sexual orientation, physical characteristics, your political or religious identity, and your hobbies. You don't want to include these things because, guys, they're not relevant to the job that you're applying for. And I know that a lot of different cultures, a lot of different countries do recommend putting your photograph on your resume. In the US, that's not the case. Don't put the photograph on your resume, and don't put any of these things on your resume anywhere. And again, your resume should be unique to the position that you're applying for. So that's a big mistake that people make, is not thinking about the specific job or specific company or specific FIU department that they're applying for, and they don't kind of tweak their resume a little bit to make it really unique. You don't want to send out the same resume to 20 different jobs. That won't be effective and will result in a little bit of frustration. So make sure that you adjust it slightly, at least for each of the positions that you're applying for. This isn't an autobiography. Don't use personal pronouns, I, me, my. Don't use we, us. Don't use any pronouns. Just use action words and then describe the accomplishments. We're going to go through exactly how to write the bullet points on your resume as well. And don't spell out numbers, primarily because numbers, remember, they're only spending 20 seconds to look at your resume altogether, and numbers catch the human eye. So you want to put numbers especially on things that you want them to see as they're looking at this. You're not going to read every single word on this. Numbers will catch the human eye as they're looking for this. And if you're effective in using those numbers, then you'll make sure that their eyes are going to the places that you want them to go to and getting their attention where you want them to get their attention as they're looking over your resume. Before I mentioned that I was going to share with you exactly how to get their attention, how to align your content of your resume with the content of the job description. So really speaking the same language on your resume as they have spoken on the job description, as they've communicated to you. And this is how you do it. You want to identify key words that will get the reader's attention. These are key words that they've used to you in communicating through the job description. So you just want to look at the job description, you want to read it, even study it a little bit. What key words on it, and we're going to give you an example in a minute, what key words on it jump out to you? What keywords get your attention? This is what I'm going to be doing. You want to put those exact keywords on your resume in a way that flows, right? Don't randomly put keywords all over your resume, but you want to put those same keywords, same language that they're communicating to you. And another good tip, this was given to me by a professional recruiter recently. Google the job title that you're applying for plus keywords, the word keywords, so that you can identify some common keywords that are out there. So, for example, a common job title for a job on campus is assistant, like a student assistant. So if you just go to Google, type in student assistant plus keywords or assistant plus keywords, you'll see a list of keywords that come up that are the most common, and you might consider including some of these keywords in your resume. And by the way, you don't want to necessarily include every single keyword that's on there. You want to include the keywords that you actually have accomplishments and experience with. If you don't have any experience or accomplishment with a specific keyword, that's okay. Don't include that keyword on your resume. Only focus on the keywords for which you have the qualifications for and can demonstrate that, and a reference might be able to back that up for you. So here's an example of a job description for a position for students that was open recently on the campus here at FIU. Was in the chemistry department. So let's take a look at this together. Let's read it together. The chemistry department is currently seeking a research assistant. So this is the job title of to support their team of professionals. So you might, after you read this, Google research assistant plus keywords. But let's continue on. Duties to include data collection. Keyword here, guys, data collection. So you might ask yourself, now you want to make sure that it's relevant. Have I ever collected any data or information in any of the past experiences that I've had? Even if it was for a research project. This is a research assistant position after all. Data analysis, another key word. Did you analyze that data? Come to any conclusions? How did you do that? And share that in a sentence format that includes the keyword data analysis. Dissemination of research findings, another key word for you guys to consider there. Let's look down in the job summary and the minimum qualification sections of the job description are the key places that you're going to find these keywords. So let's go down the minimum qualification section. It says here customer service knowledge. So the key word here, customer service. Do you have any customer service experience? Any experience at all in serving customers, communicating to customers, delivering value of any kind to customers from any of your past experience? You want to talk about that in a bullet format on your resume and include that keyword customer service. Ability to work in a team setting. So the keyword here is team. Teamwork. You're a team player. And how have you done that in the past? Whether it was at a job or maybe for a sports team or maybe for a project that you work on in class. Continuing on, basic level of Microsoft Word, none to basic Microsoft Excel. So these are technologies or skills that you want to include on your resume. These are actually keywords for this specific position. And then you can continue on here and read and identify some of the keywords that stand out to you. And then think about your past experiences and how to communicate those experiences and qualifications and accomplishments in a way that you can include these keywords. And guys, this is the number one thing that people neglect when they're writing their resume. And what happens when they go out and they apply for all these jobs with the same resume and then get frustrated that no one is communicating back from them. They're not hearing back from the employer. In other words, the employer isn't interested in interviewing them. In other words, they failed. They didn't succeed at getting the attention and of the reader, of the employer. And this is how we do it, guys. This is how we get the attention, by speaking the same language as the job description. So now that we've gone through that, let's step back and answer the question. A lot of students have the question, what do I include on my resume? Does this count? Does volunteer experience count? So we're going to do a little brainstorming of experience, and as we go through this will help you see some of the things that you've done in the past that you can absolutely include on your resume. So let's go through this. Obviously any employment experience that you've had, work experience, and as we're going through this list of bullets, be writing down, maybe even pause for each bullet point and be writing down every experience that you can think of that you had. If you haven't had employment experience yet, that's okay. Let's continue on. Any internships, co-ops. A lot of students come in their first semester having worked an internship, maybe with your parents or uncle's company. You can put that on your resume, absolutely. You don't need to mention that it was your parents' company. Just you can still include that experience on your resume. Some students had an experience where it qualified for academic credit, whether it was a previous university or a high school situation where you got to interact and contribute to and gain a little bit of experience, contribute to an organization in the community. So think about, have I ever done any of those things? Any leadership roles that you've had? Maybe this was on a sports team. Maybe this was in a student organization, maybe student government, something like that. Anytime that you assumed a leadership position and people were relying on you to bring people together to accomplish something. Any volunteer work that you've had, yes, absolutely include volunteer work, community organizations. This can include any religiously affiliated organizations that you work for. You just want to focus on the experience and work that you did and the results that you got when you're mentioning working for these kinds of organizations. And it says here, denote as such in title. That just means put volunteer on your resume, that note that you were actually a volunteer for this experience. Any major class projects that you had. Teamwork could be communicated from your class projects, especially if they're relevant for the job description that you're applying for, right? If you did a marketing project in class and you're applying for social media marketing assistant on campus, put that on your resume to get the attention of the reader and demonstrate your qualifications. Any major research. So we talked about that position we just looked at was a chemistry research assistant. If you have any major research background or an interest in whatever the topic of research is that you're applying for, put that on your resume. Student government experience that you've had in the past. In the U.S., we have a lot of fraternities and sororities. Some are career-based, some are social-based. You can put any of those on, excuse me, on your resume, especially if it's relevant for what you're looking for. Any student clubs on campus. There's over 400 student clubs on campus at FIU. You can explore those and check them out. I definitely recommend exploring a couple of those that you're interested in. Good way to make friends, but great way also to gain connections with people that have similar interests to you and are going to help you possibly achieve some of your goals. Also, obviously, great to put on your resume, guys. Any sports that you're involved in. This can include intramural sports, but particularly any skills that you're gaining as a result from your participation. So that can include teamwork, communication, problem solving, leadership skills that you might be getting from sports, and articulate that on your resume. Any study abroad that you've had. So intercultural experience is really valuable to a lot of employers. FIU obviously being a change maker university and producing global citizens really values any kind of intercultural, and all international students coming to FIU, by the way, bring that to the table as well in their job applications. So you want to pause this video and really think about and get a full list before you go on. Get a full list of all of your experience. This is just some ideas. You may even be thinking of others that aren't even listed here. But pause the video and do that for a second. In the video, we're going to continue on. And then, obviously you want to relate, and we kind of mentioned this throughout, but you want to relate everything here to your the experience and qualifications that you identified in the job resume, in the keywords that you identified. So speak the language of the job description. Communicate your experience with the keywords that they've communicated to you with. So now we're going to talk about the resume itself, the components of the resume. We're going to show you exactly how to write this resume. And by the way, in the comments and bio of this video, there is a link to a resume template that you can download. It's exactly what we're going to cover here right now, and you can download that and input your information very easily. So we're going to talk about personal identification. They need to know who they are reviewing here, whose application this is, your education, so qualifications on the knowledge that you've gained from the past, your actual work experience or volunteer experience if you haven't gotten work experience yet, all those extracurricular things that you've been involved with, and then the skills that you have. And I'm going to talk about each of these components of the resume. You want to put all of these things on your resume if you have them. So personal identification, you want to put this in the header of the document. And if you download the resume template that's in the link right below the video, it's already in the header. You just double click into the header, input your information. So this is what you need to include, plain and simple, first and last name. And by the way, keep the same format that's given to you. It's consistent. So in other words, when you're writing in your first and last name, keep it bold, keep it all caps. Then city and state, if you're when you're here and applying for jobs in the U.S., you will be in Miami. But if you're elsewhere, you can put city and country if you're outside the U.S. Your phone number where they can reach you, an email address where they can reach you. And you want to make sure that this email address is professional email address. You can use your FIU student email address. That's okay. You just want to avoid anything, like, hotprincess@yahoo.com, or, I love Netflix or something like that. You want to keep it professional, just plain and simple, your name. And then your LinkedIn profile account. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile account yet, don't include that link here. But if you do, you want to put it in the header right at the top. And then the education section, that should be the first thing in the body of your resume. So it looks like this. And again, it's exactly the same if you download the template. I'm assuming you're going to Florida International University. Over on the right, you want to put the month and the year of your expected graduation date. And then right below, in bold, the name of your degree. So bachelor's in marketing, bachelor's in hospitality, bachelor's in communication, psychology, biology, whatever that is for you. And then if your GPA is above a 3.0, you want to include it on the resume. If it's not, don't include it on the resume. Don't worry about that too much, but just don't include it if it's not a 3.0 or higher. And then if any of these apply to you, you can also list in bullet point format here any honors that you've received, any academic awards that you've received along the way, study abroad experience, any certifications that you've gained in addition to your bachelor's degree, and any minors that you might have. So that's the education. And now here is the real meat and potatoes of the resume. And this is where you're really going to put those keywords into your work experience. So here's what it's going to look like. Professional experience. We're just going to give you an example of one job experience, and you can make it a volunteer experience too. The same format applies for your volunteer experiences as well. So you want to put the name of company that you worked or volunteer at here, the city and state that it was in. If you did this outside of the U.S., put the city and the country. The dates that you were employed. So again, the month and the year, not the month, day, and year. So April of 2019 to August of 2019, if those are the dates that you were employed, for example. Optional component here, if you want to include a description of the company, that's okay. This is really, especially if it's relevant to the company that you're applying for, you might want to include that here. And also if it's a company that no one's ever heard of, obviously if you've worked for Google, you don't need to put a description of Google here. Everyone knows what that is. But particularly if it's relevant to the position that you're applying for, you might want to include a very brief description of the company, what the company does, that's it. And then finally, the position that you have. So you want to put the job title here, bolded, where the position is. And if you were volunteer, you can simply write volunteer here. And then you're going to write what your primary responsibilities were in the role. So were you responsible for cleaning venues? Were you responsible for setting up? Were you responsible for customer service? Anything that you were held accountable and responsible for, include that briefly in a short paragraph here. Remember, don't write with I and my, just action verbs and results is what we're focused on here. And then the bullet points are your accomplishments, things that you actually accomplished on the job. We're going to talk a little bit about the best types of accomplishments, but first, just know that that's where they go as the bullet points. And you want to have at least 3 of those. So you want to have enough, to where there's enough written there, but you don't want to have more than 5. Again, this isn't your autobiography. So 3 to 5 bullet points, 3 to 5 accomplishments listed as bullet points. And you want to begin each bullet point with an action verb. And there's also a link right down in the comments that you can download a list of action verbs that you might include on your resume. It's a great way to kind of think about your past experience. There's a lot of verbs there. Think about all of the things that you've done and say, oh, did I do whatever action verb you're looking at? Did I do this? Did I do this? And then see if there's a way that you can put that action verb on your resume. Obviously, there's a lot there. You won't include them all. Just find the ones that you actually did. That document can help. And if you're no longer in the job, write that verb in past tense, right? You did this in the past. You're not currently doing it. The best accomplishments and remember, I said we're going to show you some of the best accomplishments. Here they are. Help the company that you're working for or volunteering for, help them make or save money, help them save time, become more efficient, be more competitive in some way in the market, gain more customers, solve any problems in the workplace, build relationships both within the team internally and externally with possibly vendors or customers that you are working with, and then attract new customers. There are other great accomplishments. These are ones that are really going to get the attention of employers the most. So if you can think about things that you've done, did I accomplish any of these things? If so, absolutely include them here. Make sure you have some keywords baked in there as well. If not, that's okay. Put your best and most relevant accomplishments on the bullet points here. And you want to quantify your accomplishments. So you want to put numbers to it. Remember earlier we said don't write out your numbers, put the actual number in there. For example, if you attracted new customers, how many customers did you attract? Put the actual number on there. Remember, numbers jump out to the human eye, and you want to make it easy for them to see your best accomplishments. And sometimes you won't know exactly how many customers you either spoke with, or did you go to an event and speak to people to participate in the company's program or buy a product or something. And maybe you don't know exactly how many, but you know that it was more than 50. So you can just write 50 plus, 50 in the plus sign. So you're indicating that it was at least 50, but you also know it was more than 50. You can do that to quantify your experience. So just get at least a minimum number on there. And then remember, guys, this is the section where you can place most of those keywords, and it must flow naturally. Don't randomly put the keywords on your resume. It looks a little weird and awkward. You want to make sure they flow in the sentence that you're writing, and make sure that it's just consumable, that people can read it and it makes sense when they do it. So that's the work experience component of the resume. I want to share with you this really cool formula that I actually got again from FIU Career and Talent Development Office for work experience, for those bullet points, right? The formula for each of the bullet points. So start with a resume action word. Again, you can download that list of action words in the link below the video. And then you want to talk about what was it that you accomplished? What was the project that you were working on? Plus the how, right? What did you do to actually execute the project? And then finally, the why. What were the results or purpose of the project? All great components of a bullet point. I recommend reversing this a little bit. Start with the resume action word, absolutely, but then put the why next. You want to do this because the why communicates your results, and results are what are going to get the attention of the reader. Remember, if you're writing a paper, you need to get the attention of the reader and keep them going. You're going to best do that by communicating the result first in that bullet point. Say, oh, that's interesting. They'll read a little bit about what and how you did it. So I'm going to give you an example, real life example of something that we've accomplished in the Career Accelerator program. So we have increased, there's an action verb, increased freshman student employment rates by 425%. That was the result. We achieved that through our programming by designing and leading, that's the what, right? The designing and leading of the career readiness workshops, both in person and virtually. That's the how, in person and virtually. So if I had reversed this and it were designed and led 10 plus career readiness workshops, both in person and virtually, for me, it's not going to get my attention nearly as much as having the result first, that we increase student employment rates, freshman student employment rates by 425%. That's more of a wow factor. That's more of an attention grabber, and they're more willing to read on, I think, if you put the why, put the result first. So that's the formula for writing a bullet point. And I know this is a lot of work, guys, a lot of work writing a resume. I promise you the results. Don't be, frustrated by not putting the time you need to into writing your resume and then not getting the attention, not getting the call back, not being invited for an interview. It takes a lot of time and effort. I promise you, when you put this in there, you only have to do this once, then you can tweak it a little bit for each resume each job that you're going to apply for in the future. And then, you'll add experience as you get more experience on your resume. But I promise you, you're going to be much more effective if you put the time and invest the time and really writing this resume with the intention of getting the attention of the person who's reading your resume. I promise you, you'll be much more effective. So the next component, next section of the resume is your extracurricular activities. So these are the things you're doing on campus. In the brainstorming exercise, we mentioned things like student government, student clubs, sports, things like that. So here's the format for that, and in the resume template that you can download right below the video again. This is exactly how it's written there. So just input the information. What's the name of the club? So for example, if you join the Career Accelerator program, you could put Career Accelerator, give a brief description of what that is, and the dates that you had participated. If you were in a leadership role for this organization, and we do have leadership roles within the Career Accelerator program, you can put that here, Career Accelerator leader, and then a brief description of what your responsibilities were. And if there's any certifications or anything else that you accomplished as a result of your participation with this organization, you can include that right below here. And then finally, the skills section, the skills component of your resume looks like this. Again, on the resume template that you can download right below the video. You want to include languages. FIU Global First Year students from around the world, you guys have a lot of language value to bring to employers. So the way you want to articulate that is you want to put the languages that you're absolutely fluent in or native in. If you're, whatever your first language, and this is just an example, right? Maybe Arabic is your first language, and so you put native in Arabic, maybe fluent or intermediate in English, and any of the languages. Maybe you're beginning, maybe you're here and everyone's speaking Spanish in Miami, so you're starting to learn a little Spanish. You can put beginning Spanish on here. But that's the components of the resume. Again, download the resume template, download the resume action words that's right below this video. That will help you tremendously and give you guys a big kickstart in writing your resume. And then, finally, the technology skills that you have. So we mentioned earlier, the job description had Word document and Excel in there. You want to put that here if you're proficient in that. Any other technology skills that you have, if you know any coding languages, if you know any development skills, maybe graphic design skills, put that here in your technology skills. So finally, we've talked about the purpose of it. Remember, guys, you want to get the attention of the reader. That's how you're really going to be invited for the interview. That's the whole purpose of the resume. And I know that when you write a first draft, it's not going to be 100% how you want to present it to an employer, and that's great. So here's a couple of options for you to get your resume reviewed on campus. First one, yours truly, schedule an appointment with John. You can do that by scanning the QR code here, and also any emails that you receive from me. The link to schedule an appointment is in the bottom of every email that I send to you. So you can search my name, John Swartz, in your email, find email from me, click the link. You can also get to it that way. And also, I recommend going to both of these. You can walk into the Career and Talent Development Office. We mentioned them earlier. They have walk-in hours. They're located in Sask 305, right near GC in the big parking lot. Every Monday through Thursday, you can walk in anytime from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. for any reason, actually. You can get your resume reviewed. You can practice interviews. You can just get general career advice if you're not sure on the direction that you want to go. You can literally go in there at this time for any reason, including to get your resume looked at. You want to go to this office absolutely at some point, because when they approve it, you can get your resume posted to Handshake. Remember, Handshake is the platform which our employer partners, FIU employer partners, interact directly with students. So if you post your resume on there and you have the keywords in there that people are looking for, then employers can actually find your resume. You absolutely want to have your resume on Handshake for the future internships that you guys are going to have. But also, you can start building relationships even on Handshake. There's events on Handshake that you can attend as well. So when you're attending those events, you want to make sure you have a complete profile, and one of those is having a resume posted on your Handshake. And you can only post it on there when the Career and Talent Development Office approves your resume. So you need to take it to them at some point, absolutely. And also they have really cool events that are happening all the time, really great resources as well. Not only workshops on how to prepare resumes, prepare for interviews, decide what you want to do in life, but also events where employers are coming to campus and you can talk to them about opportunities that they have. So all the information, it's on their website as well. But if you're in the office, like there's so many cool posters and flyers and stuff around that you can take a look and see what's happening. Just want to point out here, and I'm going to move, if I can get at my little video here so you can see this. Right now, we're filming this during the remote learning period. Everyone is learning and taking classes remotely. So during this period, career coaching appointments from the Career and Talent Development Office are only available via appointment. So you can't walk into the office, nobody's there, but you can make an appointment any time of the day now through Handshake. You can do this normally too as well, but now it's only this. You can go to career.fiu.edu and click Handshake. It's first thing you see when you get there. Log in, and you all, as an FIU student, you already have an account. You just need to log in with your password and your FIU email, and then you can schedule an appointment there. You can also see cool events that are upcoming. And I just want to point out that for students who are participating in the Career Accelerator program, or are going to join eventually, you have to do both of these things. You need to get your resume reviewed by me, and you need to get your resume reviewed by the Career and Talent Development Office. At a minimum, I recommend having other people look at it as well to get as many different perspectives and opinions on your resume as possible. But I recommend even Career Accelerator students start with the Career and Talent Development Office because you want to get your resume posted to Handshake as quickly as possible. And that's the fastest way to do it. You can do it in any order that you want. That's just my recommendation. And this concludes, everyone, our presentation for today. I hope that you have found this video to be really informative, really valuable. Again, don't forget, click the links below below the video to download the resume template, resume action verbs. There may be other resources that we will add to that below. So take a look at everything that's available for you to link to below in the video. And any questions that you guys have, you guys can email me. If you're an FIU Global first year student, you get emails from me regularly. So just search my name in your email and you will find it. Reply to the most recent message. Ask any questions that you have. You can also post questions in the comments below. I'll be checking that periodically, so you can look at that. But if you need immediate assistance, either schedule an appointment with me here, send me an email. You guys have it, FIU Global first year students. And I want to thank you so much for your participation. And I hope that you got some really good value out of this conversation. And you are on the path to creating your very first resume and writing a resume that's going to get the attention of employers and increase the potential and possibility of you being invited for an interview. So thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon, great day or morning, wherever you are in the world. And we will talk to you soon, I am sure.